Panasonic.
Hello, partners. I am Architect Patch, and you are watching Curve TV's Bold Talks, your collaborative construction show, Season 2. Hi again, partners. Kasama nyo kami ngayon via Facebook at Curve TV PH and at TBC Plus, on Kubu at TBC, and on YouTube at the Boulder channel. Here at Curve TV's Bold Talks, we want the construction industry to be united creatively. No stress, no drama, good vibes lang tayo mga parts. We will bring you the different sides and faces of the industry like never before. Fresh, inspiring, and unintimidating. Join us for an hour of talk and more. Let's get ahead of the curve. Health and wellness initiatives continue to increase across the corporate landscape. All the more, this interest in a more holistic approach to real estate and property management has been implemented in a wide range of design strategies and certifications. More than a tagline, the notion of healthy buildings appeal to all. Now, joining our conversations tonight is the principal architect of MCAL Architecture and Design and the managing director of Living Springs Communities Realty and Development Corporation, Architect Monique Albert Lopez. Hi, Architect Monique.
Hi, Patch. Thank you for having me today.
Hi. I love the background.
Thank you.
I love it. It's very archy.
Yes, of course.
Okay, so how are you, Architect Monique?
Good. Had a fruitful day at work in the office. So I'm not working from home like most people, but then it's safe naman.
It's safe, yeah, because the spike is like really crazy recently, right? So, I mean, how is everyone doing in the office? How are you guys practicing social distancing in the office? If you can tell us
we have
your
this
tips.
new rule where it's just one person in the pantry at a time. So not like before we could congregate, no more. And then every time you talk to someone, you must have a mask on. Both of you.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So we really
At all
have to be
times,
respectful.
right?
Yes.
Yeah, and I think that one person policy in the pantry is really helpful because that's where people really interact, and that's what you really don't want to happen, right, during this time. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, that's good though that you are pivoting from this weird time, even if it's been a year already.
Yeah.
But I'm interested, Architect Monique, because you're handling two two businesses. And then I really want to know how you do it. But please tell us, what is Living Springs Communities first? How did it start?
Okay, so Living Springs Communities is a family owned company.
Okay.
It started when my brother actually found a piece of property in Taguig. And me
Mhm.
being an architect, I made a plan of how we can develop it. So we pitched it to the family, and that's how we started Living Springs Communities. But even before we started Living Springs, I was already an architect. So, of course,
Right.
it's your passion and your love. It's not something you're willing to give up. So, thank God that I can practice both architecture and the real estate part in the same office. So, yeah, so that's why I'm able to do it.
Wow, and architecture is really your passion
Oh yes. Since I
ever
was
since.
14, I
Wow.
decided I wanted to be an architect. Yeah.
Can you give me a little bit of a background? How would you say that at the age of 14 you really wanted to become an architect? Like, what was the exposure?
I just remember looking out at a window in a car, looking at this beautiful building, and it was all clad in glass. Back then, kasi glass buildings were not yet uso.
Yes,
And I
yes.
was thinking, wow, how do they do that? And then wait, I want to do that. So that's how it started. And then I just from then on, it's something I really wanted to do. And there was nothing more that I wanted to do except be an architect.
That's such a nice story. I mean, it's very simple if you want to think about it, but like it started from the glass facade, and then now you're actually practicing. That's why, I mean, you've been a passionate architect ever since, and you wanted this since 14 years old. So you're doing Living Springs Communities, and then you also are the principal architect in MCAL. So how do you manage your roles in both of these companies? How do you keep the balance?
Well, you just take what comes. It's like, but we have lots of projects as architects.
Yes.
So you're able to juggle many projects at the same time, and also the real estate developments. You're juggling so many at the same time. I think we just women have the gift of multitasking. I
I
I don't know
agree,
how
though.
else to
I agree.
explain it. Yeah.
But that's true. That's true. So pre-pandemic, let's go back to pre-pandemic, okay? Because it's really odd times now. So pre-pandemic, you have these two roles. What was your day like? I mean, do you still have time to go out, like leisure activities? Do you have any hobbies?
Yes. Well, actually, at 9 o'clock, I have a rule. That's when I sign checks. That's when I sign documents. Because
Okay.
when I'm done with that, then I can allow myself to have the creative juices start. Because when we're designing, it's like when you're already in the mode of creativity,
The momentum, right?
the momentum, exactly. So I try to do all the signing of checks, all the serious checking of documents, signing of documents. I put that to the start of the day. Anyway, you're still building your momentum palang. You're still
Mhm.
warming up. And then so I usually design on the in the afternoon already. And then I keep my side
Oh,
projects
okay.
all. I try to keep them at the same day, or maybe 4 or 5 p.m. So at least I'm done with most of the work at the office already.
So are you the one? Are you the type who takes home work? Do you still work at home?
Yes, sometimes I
Oh,
do. It's only because I want to come to the office and it's like I can start and everything is done. It feels good when you start
right,
the
right, right.
day. You start the day fresh, no
Parang
backlogs.
it's
That's the best
fulfilling,
feeling.
It's
Yeah.
fulfilling, right? When you cross things out of your list, and I think that's a girl thing. I think also, when you become OC with tasks to do. Okay, so with your concept of creating overflowing life experiences through your projects, I'd like to ask you how you define a sustainable, healthy building within a healthy community. Because there's a lot of definitions when you say sustainable building, healthy building. But for you, what's your definition?
Okay. Well, a healthy building and a healthy community are two separate things. They're related, but they're different. So, a healthy building would be like, the basics that we learn. Um, Natural ventilation,
Mhm.
natural lighting. So you want to have a breathing building, just so that there's always
Mhm.
fresh air intake, especially with COVID, right? You want to make sure that
Right.
the air is always new and fresh, and
Mhm.
also. For example, using LEDs, and energy saving, if it having an efficient building, and then
Mhm.
you're concerned about the health of the people there. So that's actually
Mhm.
what constitutes a healthy community. You're concerned about the health of the people living in the development or living in the home. So that would be, if you think they need to feel they're at peace, they need to feel secure, they need to
Mhm.
feel mental wellness, and that's what forms a healthy community. So, for example, how do you make sure they feel secure? In the development, you provide enough security, perimeter walls, a gate outpost,
Mhm.
sprinklers, fire detection. And when people feel safe, they're generally more positive. And when people are feeling positive, it makes a healthy community. Syempre, because nakangiti. There's, di
Right.
ba?
The energy, right? The energy is positive as
Yes.
well. Right.
Yes, and also for peace. So the way we design is we always put a fountain so that when you enter
Mhm.
palang, you're relaxed na, right? It's setting the tone and the mood of the community. And then we make sure there's a lot of green spaces because we want people to be able to get away, relax, calm down. And so usually happy community, peaceful community, when they feel secure, that's what makes a healthy community.
Right. And it's nice that you mentioned that you always put a fountain in your
Oh yeah,
projects. I mean,
because
is
we're
that
living
your
springs.
yeah, yeah, right? I mean, not sometimes people tend to overlook those little, it's a detail that parang okay, let's not put na lang, parang that's added budget, added expense, but really it adds to the you're correct with the wellness of the people, mental, when you see a fountain, you feel refreshed, right? And you feel so welcome. Parang it was well thought of. So, um,
Yeah.
it's good that you mentioned as well open spaces, and I think what the pandemic has done to us designers is that importance of open spaces,
I agree.
right?
Yeah.
Because people, if you go out, people really don't want to go to the malls that are indoor, and like they feel that they're not safe, but when they go out in parks, right, in open areas, they feel safer. Now I want to ask you, in your projects, aside from the fountain, what else are the other key design features of healthy buildings that you implement in your
Okay.
projects?
So, well, if you're talking about the wellness of the people, so we
Mhm.
make sure there's enough amenities. So there's a gym.
Okay.
Syempre, for
Okay.
health, there's a swimming pool. I mean, your kids will
Mhm.
feel crazy if they can't go out and swim or, go to the playground. There needs to be a
Right.
place where people can walk. So, for example, in our project Tres Palmas, we have a sky deck.
Mhm.
And also in the new project that we're building now, Tanakasha Place, we fully utilize the top of the building to be a sky deck. I always find
Mhm.
that decks are usually underutilized. I look out at the
Yes.
city and I wonder why are they not utilizing it?
Right.
It's so sayang.
Parang
So
nobody access, parang it's not accessible to people. Parang ganon, di ba?
yeah, but why not? I mean, you can make it
Yeah.
safe. You can make the railing really high if you're afraid because there might be an accident. Then just make the railing really high. But it
Mhm.
when people are in their condos, if you live in a
Mhm.
condo, it's nice to go up to the deck, look at the stars. A lot of people need breathers, diba?
Right.
So it's like an added space where you can bond with your
Mhm.
family, with your kids. You can look at the
Mhm.
stars, talk about the stars.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But I want to pick your brain on when it comes to gyms, right? I know it's a very important amenity in any development because you value health of people. They need to exercise. But now in this time, how do you think we can make people safe or feel safe that they are in the gym?
Oh, in the gym? Well, it depends on how big
Yeah.
the gym is. But right now,
Mm.
I think it should really just be if the gym is not that big,
Mhm.
one person per gym at a time and keep the windows open.
It's
Yeah.
scheduled, right?
Yeah.
Monitored, scheduled. Yeah. Because
Yeah.
I mean, you can't stop people from exercising because that's one thing that you need to have now, right? You build your resistance, your immunity, and how can you do that? You have to exercise. But again,
Agree.
part of the system is how do you make it safer for people? And that's right. I mean, people can pivot in gyms. They can just do monitoring or like one person at a time. Or if it's big enough, maybe they can, the right distancing. Correct.
Right. So maybe you can zone. You can
Yeah,
put mask and
exactly.
tape. Zone one person per zone, and the zone has to be very big, just to make
Yeah,
sure. And the
yeah, that's
windows
a good idea.
definitely have to be open. Yeah, because
Yes,
COVID is not
right.
a joke. Yeah.
The natural ventilation should be present in the gyms, right? Air conditioned, no. I mean, you can turn it on, whatever, but I mean the window should be open. Okay. So
Absolutely.
what about in let's say in the communities itself? So you mentioned about open spaces. What about planning? Planning the positions of the buildings. Are you the one to like add more setbacks for more carriageway. Can you give us your some of the ideas that you do in your projects?
Well, as for planning, so definitely it's sort of like a how do you say? It's like a theater or drama, like a parade.
Okay.
So you kind
Okay.
of direct the feelings that people are going to have. So, for
Mm-hmm.
example, in Tanakasha Place, when you're entering palang, it's already there's a fountain, right? So you can hear
Mm-hmm.
it. It calms you down na. And then to get to the lobby, you pass through some plants, you're feeling more relaxed.
Mm-hmm.
When you get the lobby, biglang high ceiling, right? So you
Okay.
feel, I'm so glad to be home. So you kind
That's
of direct.
exactly how I feel every time I see you really encapsulated the entire feeling na high ceiling. I mean, ganun talaga eh. Okay, continue.
Yes, yes,
Carry
yes.
on.
And so, of course, like with the property management, we also tell them always tell the guards and the front desk always with a smile. If you can, always with a smile. So, um, it's really just about directing the experience. And for us also, for Tanakasha Place, we designed
Mm-hmm.
the hallways to
Mm-hmm.
be fully ventilated. So in the front of the hallway, in the back of the hallway, there's windows with ventilation. So
Mm-hmm.
it's fresco, right?
Right,
So
right. Because
and
through
and
and through eh. Yes.
yes, and of course we're going to be putting plants there because there's natural light. So it also when people see plants, they calm down.
Right.
Yeah.
Architect Monique, there's a question here on Facebook, and I'd like to thank Ash Magbanwa for this question. She's asking any ideas where to put fountains inside the home.
Oh, are you? My question is the home built na, or are
It's
you
built.
building
Let's say
it?
it's built na. Say it's already built.
Well, if you fountain, you can actually put it anywhere. You can put it in the living room so that
Mm-hmm.
when people are hanging out there, they relax. You can if you have a balcony, and if
Mm-hmm.
there's enough shade, you can put it out there. Also, if you set up your balcony area, and then you
Mm-hmm.
can put a fountain there. Or if you have a garden, it's nice to put the fountain there. Or if you have a nice driveway to your home, that's a great
Mm-hmm.
place to put the fountain.
Yeah,
So
I was thinking somewhere. I was thinking somewhere that can greet you right when you come home. Para naman if you came
yes.
from a very bad day, before entering the house, you already have something that okay, I'm coming down. All right, thank you for this fountain. Diba?
Yeah, diba? So for if you're married, right? So before when your spouse is coming home from a hard day at work, diba? Before they enter, relax muna. Like
Tama,
calm, listen
tama.
to the water.
And I think it's a nice position also, or placement would be in the living room, because when you settle there, right? When you settle there, it's the sound. It's the sound of water that really calms you down and gives you that wellness, right? So
Yeah.
yeah, thanks. I mean, for those who are listening, if you have any questions regarding wellness and health buildings, you guys can just ask on Facebook or on Kumu, and Architect Monique and together with our other panels can give you guys some tips. So don't go anywhere. Architect Monique, I still want to hear more thoughts coming from you. So when we return, we will talk more about healthy building. Sparks, please stay. Curve TV's Bold Talk Season 2. We'll be right back. Hey, welcome back to Curve TV's Bold Talk Season 2. The World Health Organization defines a healthy building as a space that supports the physical, psychological, and social health and well being of people. Joining Architect Monique is engineer Joel Jude Tadeo, risk and incident management consultant at Arcadis, the leading global design and consultancy for natural and built assets. Hi, Engineer
Yeah.
Jude.
Hello, hello. Good afternoon. Good evening. Good evening, Patch.
Oh, good evening.
Architect
How are
Monique.
you? How are you, engineer?
Hi, Jude.
Doing good. Yeah.
Okay, so
Well,
yeah.
adjusting from work from home, so we are 100%
Oh,
work from home now. So it's getting a little bit boring, but
mhm.
but yeah, keeping up with things. Yeah.
Right. Business has to continue, right? So as long as
Yes.
you guys
Yes.
are safe. And I mean, this is what we were talking about offline, that this industry, whether you're an architect or an engineer, you can still continue doing it at home, in fairness, right? When you do plans, it's really just the site inspections or the actual construction that's tricky, correct?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Especially
Uh,
now
yeah.
with the designers, right? So even when
Yeah.
talking with the designers, they also adopted to a digital kind of working. So when we transfer like drawings from each other, then and comment on those drawings, then the digital platform makes it all easy. So it's possible.
Right. And we've been doing that even pre-pandemic. So I mean,
Yes.
now we're just seeing how it's been useful in our
Yes.
industry, right? So, Engineer Jude, why don't you tell us briefly, and then we'll go back to our conversation to healthy buildings because we want to hear your thoughts too. Tell us briefly about your role in Arcadis and its correlation to monitoring or evaluating healthy buildings.
Okay, in a non-technical
Mm,
way, what I do in Arcadis is I simplify the compliance issues that
mhm,
international standards has and put them into a
mhm,
localized context where the
mhm,
developers, the clients, the designers can understand and adjust their design to comply with those standards. So that's basically it. And those standards could be anything from LEED, if you're familiar, or WELL, or BREEAM, or Green Star, Green Mark, all of those things. So,
So you
and
evaluate or you check. Yes.
yes, everything actually from the architectural plans to the mechanical, electrical plans, plumbing, yeah, landscape as well. It's very important. Yeah.
Okay, so prior to that, so it's like the let me try to describe it. So the architect or the designer will design something, and then we show it to you, and you check if the building is up to standards in terms of healthy, if it's healthy or sustainable, ganon. Is that what you
That
do?
that is the old way actually, and we're
Oh,
trying to
that is the old
diverge from
way.
that. Yeah. What we want to ideally, right at the beginning of the project, the sustainability consultant should be there already with the
Yes.
architect, with the cost consultant, with the contractor, and with the operations manager. Basically, who's going to run the building, right? Because ultimately, it is them who will use the building and not us.
Right. Architect Monique, in your projects, like when you start the planning, you already consider it, right? It's not an afterthought
Oh
for
yes, yes.
you.
It's part of our belief system. We have like
Mm.
a personal belief system. So as we're designing, it starts to come out. If we believe that natural light and ventilation is important, then while we're designing, parang subconsciously, we're already
Mm.
putting it in place, right? It's because it's who we are, right? Coming out.
Right.
Parang an artist painting, diba?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kasi there's a parang concept or there's a notion kasi that people think that when you want your building to be sustainable or healthy, it costs a lot. I mean, I'm sure you've heard of that. Because syempre, if you want to pass, say, if you want to be LEED certified, right?
Yeah.
If you want to be BERDA certified, there are certain materials or certain things, technologies that you have
Yeah.
to input in the building. What's your thought on that, Engineer Jude?
Well, what what cost are we looking at, right? So they put a number on the capex or on their capital expenditure. But when we look at the whole life cycle of the building, right? How many times are you going to change like the air conditioning system? How much more are you going to consume in your energy if you use low class glass? How much
Mm.
more energy are you going to use if you put in all of those outdoor air, hot, humid outdoor air, and not have like energy recovery? So those kinds of things, right? Now we are seeing a lot of shift from the fluorescent bulb into LED, right? So they already include those in their design. But if you look 10 years back, um, well, they say the same thing about LED, right? So it's too
Mm.
expensive. It's expensive, and things. It's going to cost a lot much more. And now those same people who said that LED back then was expensive are shifting now into LED, right? Because they're
Right.
yeah, you can reduce your electric bill by a minimum of 10% just by changing your lights. Yeah.
And it's cheap
And I mean,
already.
yeah,
It's
LED
cheap
right.
bulbs
already.
have become very cheap,
Very
actually.
cheap.
I was gonna say it's already accessible and it's not. When you say LED, like some people are still scared or allergic with the term LED. They think that it's expensive, right? But it's really affordable now compared to before. And when
Yes.
people when consultants like us, when we really say that it reduces your cost 10%, especially electricity, there really is a 10% reduction,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Some people
yes.
kasi
It's
Yes.
parang,
without.
well, I don't believe
No,
you, but
much
right?
more. Even more compared to incandescent. A lot of times I tell my clients already, you know what? You can leave it on. All of these lights combined, it's just equivalent to 160 watt incandescent bulb, you know? So
Mhm.
so now you can just leave it on because LED really it's such a brilliant, yeah, new technology.
Right.
Innovation.
And it's
Yeah, that's
safer,
that's true.
right?
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
They're,
and
they're
safer
even.
also safer
and it
pa siya
doesn't
eh.
get hot.
It doesn't
Mm.
get hot. Yeah, that's
That's
that's one of the good things about that one. We're
yes.
getting closer to cold light, right? Because what light is transforms the electrical energy into photons, into light energy, right? And the closest thing that we have right now that's commercially available is the LED. Otherwise, you'd have to have that incandescent bulb, and you can just feel the heat coming off right off, right?
Yes,
So, and that
that's
heat is
true.
actually 60%. That's 60% of the electricity consumed by the bulb. So, yeah, it's yeah. So the going
We are
back to your
promoting LED lights, guys. Okay, going back. Yes,
We are.
engineer.
We use it in all our developments.
Yeah.
I would say
Mm.
98% of the lights we use are LED.
nice, yeah.
Right. Correct. You were saying something, Engineer Jude?
Oh yes, going back to your question actually about is it costly, right, to get a sustainable building? The answer is simply if you're going to include the whole life of your building, no. Your ROI would be about 3 to 5 years, right? Because of just because of the energy savings, not considering the increase in productivity of your employees. So that's one thing that's not unmeasurable for now. But there's this institute, the Well Institute, has put a number on that. But yeah, it's still in research.
Yeah, because
So they,
I mean, cost doesn't stop when you put up the building. There's more cost to
Yes.
it after
Indeed.
energizing
Yeah.
everything, putting all the equipment, and I mean that still adds cost because some people they think na after construction yun lang eh, but after that it's more expensive, but to keep the building going, and I agree with that. So how can design really impact healthy buildings? We're talking about equipment here, like lightings and aircon. But in terms of designing, like planning of buildings or other technologies, can you share some principles and strategies how arcades promote well-being through designs?
Okay.
Let's start with engineer. Yeah.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So there's this concept called integrative process. Right? So the integrative process basically gathers all of these consultants. So you have the mechanical, the cost, the architect, sustainability consultant, acoustics consultant, lighting consultant at the start of the project, so that when you create this concept design, everything is there, right? So the major challenge with developers or with developments right now is that they put sustainability or they put wellness into the design at before construction, right? So when you do that before construction, your cost shoots up. But when you do that during the concept design, then yeah, that's a good way. That's the best way to implement those the principles that we have with the principles and strategies, right? So we try to follow the well standard. So a good thing that there's this international standard that's been developed. So there are 7 concepts there that has been researched for 7 years. Yeah. So those are yeah. Okay. So there are air, water, nourishment, light, fitness, comfort, and then mind. Right. So those 7 concepts we try to integrate them and consider them during our consultancy.
Right.
That's how we do it.
I think the takeaway there, engineer and architect, is that start pa lang of planning, you already consider it because it's so hard to input sustainability and things that will help you make the building healthy or green when it's already being executed, right?
Yes.
And I
Yes.
think that's still the practice now, which is kind of frustrating for some
Sadly,
people
yeah.
because, right? And I mean, for clients, like in my experience also, so you start with the concept, right? Schematics. You try to insert already ideas, and then value engineering happens. Take out
Yes.
everything. And then when you finally put up the building, it's there. Okay, wait, we have to make it safer. Sige, let's do this. Then you go back to
And then you put it in.
we
Yeah.
already said that, but we
Yeah.
already suggested that, right?
Yeah.
So parang the importance of adding it start pa lang of your plan is really tricky. Okay, so now that we're talking about how to make buildings safer, are there any economic impacts when your building is unsafe or unhealthy? What's your take on this, Architect Monique?
Sorry. So the economic impact.
Impact.
Well,
Yeah,
well, I
of
guess
unhealthy building.
I guess if you have a healthy building, you have healthy residents. If you have healthy residents, there that makes a healthier economy. Of course, they're more in the mood to
Mhm.
shop and support the economy. Thus, their community is healthier. So that's how it can indirectly impact the economy. Yes.
Right. What about you, Engineer Drew?
I agree. I totally agree. I totally agree. The Philippine economy right now is driven by the middle class, right? So we have an uprising of the middle class from before. We have an increase in people who are literate, who are professionals. So that means that we have more people inside buildings right now, inside office buildings. It's everything's there already. Now, imagine a building that is not healthy, and then a lot of people go there, right? So you can see an increase in turnover, increase in sick leave, increase in yung mga pagrereklamo nila sa mga tao, right? So yung pag-change din ng mga systems, mga ganyan. No? Palitan natin yung layout natin, kailangan yata ganito, kailangan yata ganyan. So those things, right, impact the productivity of the working class, of the middle class. That's why
Can you give me can you give
Go
me
ahead.
sorry, I have to insert here, Engineer.
Sure,
Can you give me
sure.
some specific specific examples where you've noticed that when you see that kind of technology or equipment or planning, you say na agad that okay, this building is unhealthy. This is not safe for the people
Okay.
inside. Can you give me some specific
Yeah.
examples?
Sure. Okay. Let's say you walk in a medical clinic, right? Let's say yung mga pinapupuntahan kung may annual checkup. And then their
Okay.
HVAC system, you can see that it's a split type or window type. Right? So usually a split type and a window type doesn't have fresh air intake. So automatically you're at risk, especially now that you have we're in a pandemic, right? That can be so. That is a trigger for me actually. When I see that there's inadequate fresh air or the system doesn't allow for fresh air, I don't enter the building. I don't enter the space. And if I do, especially now when there's a pandemic, I make sure that my mask is tight, it's snug. Then I count up to 60, just 1 minute. Yeah. Then I just leave. Yeah.
Oh
So,
wow, really? Yeah, I mean
It's yeah.
the things. I mean, I can just imagine, like me and Architect Monique can just imagine how things go in your mind because you check it. This is like your natural
Yeah.
work. You check if the building is healthy. So, paano pa ngayon na pandemic, right?
Yes.
So, another thing that I'm curious about, what about restaurants? What's the one thing that you always notice na parang, okay, this is unhealthy. This is an unhealthy restaurant. What do you notice, engineer?
Same. The smell of the air inside. Right? So if you smell something from the kitchen, then their exhaust
Okay.
is not working. If you smell something from the restroom, I mean, you enter and then you smell something that's coming from the restroom, then syempre, mas unhealthy yun kaysa dun sa may kitchen exhaust na hindi
Oo.
gumagana. Yeah.
Right.
So there's this a restaurant in a mall in Taguig, right? When you enter, you can smell you can smell French fries basically. But when you enter the same
Oh.
restaurant in another
Okay.
building that is a sustainable building, you don't smell the French fries. So why is that, right? It's the same restaurant in another building, in a separate building. One is a green building, one is another not a green building. But yeah, the smell is different. Yeah, those kinds of things also trigger.
So that's exhaust, right? Is it the design of the exhaust? That's why there's
Yes,
a
that's the
difference
design of the
between the
exhaust.
two.
Yes.
Wow.
That means that your air can be contaminated, right? So these are restaurants. They use cleaning materials. They use the oil that's in the air. Once you cook it, of course, it becomes vaporized. Some of them becomes vaporized, and they mix in the air, right? You have increased particles, increased particulates in the air, PM 2.5s, VOCs from the cleaning agents. All of those things, they may be in the air, and that's what makes me paranoid.
Engineer, baka naman they want to encourage lang to buy French fries. That's why malakas yung amoy ng French fries
Pwede.
sa restaurant.
It's a
Baka naman
marketing
that's their
strategy. Yeah.
marketing strategy. I mean, when
Yeah.
you, like, for example, when you enter a coffee shop, you smell coffee. Baka naman that's the marketing
Coffee's great.
strategy of that restaurant. But like, I totally get it. Exhaust is very important.
Yes.
Architect Monique, do you have any experiences regarding that? Like when you entered a specific space, whether it's a hotel, office, or retail, was there something that you noticed na parang, okay, there's something wrong?
Well, definitely if there is a lack of natural ventilation, you can smell it. The air is stale. And also drains. Well, sometimes there's like a backflow smell, right? So that the plumbing wasn't
Yes.
designed properly. So yun. And sometimes they're just, why is there a drain there? There doesn't need to be a drain there. There's just smell coming out from there. So yeah, there's a lot of that.
And these are things that we notice, right? That other people don't really notice. But I think our threshold when it comes to these things like smells, mababa eh. Like parang, kahit I'm not supposed to be smelling this here. But ganun yung parking lot. Sobrang init. Parang you're suffocating, right? Parang there are things that we always notice. We know how to do it. So, I mean, it's giving our mental health and well-being, like, it's putting it in a very difficult position. So why do you think, what are the factors why people are still holding back from designing healthy buildings? Other than budget, why do you think so? Yes, Architect Monique.
I think it's just a lack of education because it's pretty new. So when I was in college, they weren't teaching green architecture yet. So maybe the new breed of designers, it will be natural and innate in them. And I think as time progresses, more entrepreneurs are bringing in green technology. So it's just a matter of it becoming more available. Like we were talking about the LED, how it's so cheap now, right? Even the LED TVs are so much cheaper.
Right. That's true. That's true.
Yeah. So I think it's eventual. It's just they're teaching green architecture in school now, and more entrepreneurs. There's more technology coming out. So we have nowhere to go but green. I think the future is green.
Being informed, right? What about you, engineer?
I agree with education, right? Especially with the developers and with the clients. So we've experienced some things where, why do we need this? We don't need this because this is an office and we're going to rent it out. So those kinds of remarks, right? So it shows that that the people who are making those remarks haven't gotten into a situation na pumasok sila dun sa building, tas ganun yung state ng hangin or ng ilaw, ganyan, right? So have you tried working in a space na madilim? Right? So ang sakit sa ulo nun. And then hindi aantukin ka basically. So yeah, education. And then of course enforcement. We have laws now, right? So we have the Green Building Code, which is which should be enforced since 2016. Right? So it was published 2015, and then right now, when you talk to the LGUs and update them what the requirements are in terms of green building, then sasabihin lang nila hindi pa namin alam yan, wala pa kaming ganyan. So mga ganun. So enforcement of the standards, it's all there.
Yeah, I agree with everything that you said. Enforcement and information, because I think we're talking about designers, okay, and clients and developers, but also for those who aren't in our industry. And I think they're more conscious now because of the pandemic, right? They're more conscious of everything that's happening. And what is one thing top of mind that lesson that you learned about our buildings during this time of COVID? What's one thing that talagang you saw na, okay, because of COVID, I realized that dapat talaga ganito? Anybody can take that answer. Yes,
Okay,
architect.
so, well, the realization is you can actually get locked up in your home. So that's
Right,
something we
right.
didn't know before. So now that we
Mm.
know it, when we design, we need to make sure, especially if there are a lot of people in, let's say, a condo unit, better to have higher ceilings para everyone feels the space has more air, cubic air, diba?
Mm.
Per person. And also Wi-Fi. We have to make sure there's strong Wi-Fi connection because
Right.
people are working. They're making agaw, diba? The Wi-Fi.
Mm.
So kids are studying from home, parents are working from home, and then may Netflix pa. So you just have to make sure the infrastructure in the building
Mhm.
is has good Wi-Fi, and also everybody, if all the rooms can have natural light and ventilation, better
Mhm.
for mental wellness. And do you know
Mhm.
that everybody needs vitamin D? So everyone needs exposure to the sun, right? And if you're locked up in your unit, you better
Mhm.
have enough access to vitamin D
Right.
or sunlight. So there.
Agree. What about the engineer?
For me, I'm going to relate this
Other than
to our
smelling
work.
fries from buildings, what else did you notice?
Okay, the fresh air requirement, right? So, Architect Monique is talking about natural ventilation, and I love natural ventilation. It should be there in buildings that can have natural ventilation, but in buildings that don't have natural ventilation, I mean, particularly buildings running for 24 hours that are on air conditioning, you must have mechanical ventilation. Right? So
Mm.
that's the one pretty no, it's not particularly applied that well in
Mhm.
old buildings, and we see a lot of pushback um, when we try to recommend to increase their fresh air. But now,
Mhm.
since COVID started, we've been getting inquiries on how they could achieve uh, mechanical ventilation in their buildings, because that's the only way that we can allow people to come back in office,
Mhm.
right, in the office. So
Yes.
that's also one of the things that I think should be enforced well, right? So your right to uh, na right to say no when your employer requires you to go to the office pero wala namang fresh air, wala namang ventilation. So you have to have the right to
Yes.
say no.
Very good. I mean, that's a nice takeaway. Check the natural ventilation and lighting. And I think we have some questions here on Facebook before I let go of Architect Monique in this segment. Because we're talking about circulation of air and lighting. And I
Mm.
think that's one of the most important things also in terms of, when you have molds existing
Yes.
in your
Yes.
house. Diba? There's it has something to do with air circulation. So from Ash Magbanwa, she's asking, how do you prevent molds in existing homes and when building new homes? Love the topic. Thank you so much. Okay,
Okay.
Architect Monique.
So when you're building new homes, definitely you put natural light, a window in your bathroom, because
Mm-hmm.
when I notice molds, it's usually in bathrooms that don't have its own window. So if you
Mm-hmm.
can put or invest in a good exhaust system, but of
Mhm.
course you
Mm-hmm.
can just use vinegar and baking soda to remove it if
DIY. Okay.
yes.
DIY,
Yeah,
yeah.
and maybe it's a good idea to, if you can, keep the door open, or maybe your door can be louvered so that
Mm-hmm.
there's always fresh air coming into the bathroom.
Right. Engineer, you have something to add?
Yeah, sure. So molds are usually an indication that there is high humidity in the space, right? So
Mm.
whether it be if it happens in the bathroom, then that means that you don't have proper exhaust, or that you leave your floor wet after taking a
Mm.
shower. So you should at least turn on the exhaust until the floor is dry. Um, and if it's in a room, that usually means that there's a concentration of humidity in that one spot. So if you're in an existing space and you have molds, especially when you have black molds, I urge you to please contact an IAQ expert and then have your home inspected. Right. So we have those. We have those here in Manila. No worries there.
Yeah.
So and they can pinpoint exactly where what caused that mold, what that mold is, and how you could treat that. How could you remove that from your home? Yeah. So contact the experts. No worries.
Contact the experts, especially kapag madami na masyado, no?
Kapag
It might
madami,
get
if it's
under
black.
oh, right. If it's black, watch out for black molds,
Yeah,
guys.
watch out
Okay,
for black ones.
another comment here is because we're talking about living in condos, no? So this is from Maribel Zanaga. She says, I know indoor plants are healthy as they improve air quality. But for a soon-to-be condo owner like me who doesn't have a green thumb, do you have any suggestions considering also the limited space in a condo?
Well,
So,
what I
so
can do
no
is
green thumb. Okay.
I can advise if you definitely there's certain plants that you can keep indoors. So usually you'd want to keep it beside your window. So what are these plants? This can be a yucca plant. This can be a fiddle leaf rubber plant. This can be an areca palm. So those are usually the beautiful indoor plants. But you want to make sure that they're by the window. And the suppliers always say 1 cup 3 times a week. So that can be Monday, Wednesday, Friday that you water 1 cup. Yeah. So that's the advice I can give.
Okay, there are plants that are easily maintained. So don't be scared if you don't have a green thumb. What about you, engineer?
I have the same problem. I don't have a green thumb as well. So I guess it's more on the plant selection, right? So there are these oxygen bombs. I think NASA's published this paper, and this paper is way back. I think it's 1965 or 1960s, and they publish these plants that have that are oxygen bombs. And my favorite is the aloe vera plant, right? The more you don't pay attention to it, the more it grows. So you just water it once a week, and then it just grows. Yeah, and I have one here in a condo in our condo. So
well, there you go. I mean, those are good advices. I mean, don't be scared if you don't have a green thumb. You can adjust the plants because really indoor plants will really give you good oxygen, like good air, and it it calms your mind. And thank you so much for those who are commenting and asking. And I mean, thank you very much, Architect Monique. Engineer Jude, you will stay with me. But I'd like to thank Architect Monique for all your tips and insights. I mean, it's been very informative. So any last messages how to keep your homes healthy, even now, especially now? Any last words before I let you go in this segment?
To keep it healthy, well, I guess just make sure everything is well ventilated all the time since we're on that topic. Yeah, and make sure, let your space breathe. And if you can invest in indoor plants, that would be great. But yeah, always make sure, because some people, they just let the stale air stay in. So just make sure daily you're changing your air, you're refreshing your air.
Right. Thank you so much, Architect Monique Albert Lopez. She is the Principal Architect of MCAL Architecture and Design and the Managing Director of Living Springs Communities. It's been a pleasure having you here at Bold Talks. But guys, don't go away because Engineer Jude will be joining us and another architect for our next segment about healthy building. So parts, don't go away. Curve TV Bold Talks Season 2 will be right back.
Thanks, Pat.
Panasonic. Panasonic.
You are still watching Curve TV's Bold Talk Season 2. Now, with Engineer Jude, we also have now on the panel Architect Carl Verdadero, Project Manager and Assistant Studio Head at Visionary Architecture. Hi, Architect Carl.
Hi, Patch.
Hi, nice to see you
Good
again.
evening.
Sorry, have you been listening in our conversation? It's been very insightful.
Yeah, your conversation with Architect Monique and Engineer Jude was very interesting.
Yes,
Sobrang
that's why I'm excited to have you on board.
relatable.
Right? Super relatable. And I mean,
Yeah.
we're still talking about healthy buildings, and you guys can still ask us questions on Facebook and on Kumu if you want to know more about this. But now with healthy buildings, come healthy communities and healthy occupants, right? So they're all together. Um, I want to know, and I promise I have a point why I'm asking this. What kind of workout do you do, Architect Carl? I have a
Uh,
point here. Sige nga, in this day and
well,
age, what kind of workout do you
ako,
do?
yeah, I usually do indoor workouts. Although
Mm.
I'm not really a fitness enthusiast or professional, but I just try to incorporate exercising and workouts in my
Mhm.
daily routine. So it has become my lifestyle since siguro 2016. But I'm more on indoor workouts. Uh,
Mhm.
I do gr- I do mga functional training, free
Mhm.
weights. I also do group classes sa gym, ganon. And now na pandemic, since gyms are closed,
Mhm.
and I have limited equipment here at home, so I
Mhm.
try to join group classes online. I
Mhm.
also did mga online coaching. So yun, those are the types of workouts na I do. But I also did pala mga indoor workouts like mga boxing and spinning.
Right.
That was prior to pandemic.
I've been doing boxing also pre-pandemic, and now it's very hard to do that in this time because wala yung
Yeah,
equipment naman sa bahay. Like you don't have a punching bag or you don't have your coach here
yeah.
to do mitts with you. What about you, Engineer Jude? What's your exercise?
Me, I try to focus more on cardio and not on muscle building,
Oh.
right? So I started biking to work in 2016. So I was encouraged by one of my office mates, and it became kind of a hobby. Yeah. So we did this 100-kilometer ride, and then masakit
Wow.
siya, pero okay, nakaka-fulfill ng ano na. Parang may na-tick off ka sa life goals mo. Parang ganun yung feeling. So yeah,
Galing
cardio.
So really cardio. And you run. You also
Yes,
run?
yes, I also run. Yeah, more
Okay.
of jogging. Yeah, so swimming. I'm trying to get into free diving kasi yung situation ngayon medyo mahirap siya. Pero I like to train my lungs kasi
Uh-huh.
well, I was raised in Baguio City. Tapos doon kasi
Mm.
manipis yung hangin. So every time na
Mm.
umuwi kami, kasi dito sa Manila, di ba, working then every time na umuwi kami, lagi akong out of breath kasi yun nag-adjust na from yung manipis na hangin dito sa baba and then pag-aakyat sa Baguio. Medyo nahihirapan ako huminga. So,
Dito
I like to
kasi puro
focus on my
usok
lungs.
no? Pagdating mo dito, puro usok bigla. Okay, so my point here is, the reason why I ask this, syempre, hindi lang naman yung buildings natin yung kailangan healthy, di ba? Even ourselves, we're supposed to be healthy. And I wanna transition now to the conversation of gyms nga and exercise spaces. Because, again, when I was just with Architect Monique earlier, I asked her about this. How do you keep the gyms safe nowadays? Because for you to build your resistance against the virus and to build your immunity, you have to be active, right? And some people, they do not have the access to, I mean, yung community siguro nila hindi safe mag-jog sa labas or they don't bike. Some naman, they don't have enough space at home to do indoor exercise. So some would opt out to go to the gym talaga. So what in particular can we do in terms of design to make a gym safer? It can be existing or non-exist. Or ano pa lang, gagawin pa lang. Can we start with the Architect Carl?
siguro in terms of designing the gym itself, parang right now kasi mas prefer ng mga tao yung air-conditioned na na mga gyms. And I cannot tell naman kasi if, you know, kung mas okay ang natural ventilation. Well, it's better sana and it lessens your consumption with electricity then. But siguro it's more of the implementation. Like right now, ngayong pandemic, it's really more on the implementation and yung the administration of the gym should be very strict talaga when it comes to yung mga bookings, ganyan. So in terms of design, if the space is big, it's easier for us to design na may social distancing. But if we have limited space, I think the only solution is to limit the people inside the gym, which we are currently doing right now. So, ayun, that's my
Yeah, because some people are turned off naman to go to the gym when they know that there is no aircon because it's too hot.
Yeah.
Diba? Like, I mean, for some it works. The hotter the better because you sweat. But for some naman, they don't want that.
Yeah, but
Engineer
for me
Jude-
kasi parang
Oh, yes, good.
sorry,
Oh, go
iba
ahead,
kasi
go ahead.
iba kasi yung sweat pag cause na mainit compared sa sweat na you achieve pagka nag-workout ka ng maayos. So
Agree.
I agree.
it's
Nangyari
talaga
na sa akin
different.
yung dati. Parang, hindi pa ako gumagalaw but pinapawisan na ako. I'm
Yeah.
sure I'm not losing any calories because
You're
of this.
dehydrated. You're not burning
Right.
calories.
Exactly. You're dehydrated. Engineer Jude, in your business, like in your job, how do you say that a gym is not healthy? Have you been to some facilities wherein hindi siya pumasa sa'yo?
Well, I can't say the gym itself, but meron, pero hindi siya, not really na hindi pumasa. So, I would like to answer this question in terms of design, right? So let's go back to the design. So if your gym would be air conditioned, right? So you should include indoor fresh air. So that's one thing. So mechanical ventilation, and add on to that indoor air quality monitoring. So you can tell how stale the air is using these monitors that can tell you how much carbon dioxide is in the air, how much particulate matter is in the air, which are indications of how polluted it is in the air, and how there is meron siyang lack ng fresh air. And then another one is to design the pathways basically. So ngayon kasi nagkakaroon ng kung papunta ka sa gym, di ba? Parang from this equipment to that equipment and going here and going there. Marami kang mga kasalamuha which is not really good, especially ngayon sa may pandemic na. So yun, you have to design the pathways well, right? So going to the CR, one way lang dapat, one way lahat, sana as much as possible. Paano kung nandito yung treadmill tapos nandito yung isa tapos pa ganun yung way? Hindi okay lang, parang nag-workout na rin, di ba, papunta dito. Parang ganun. Okay na yun.
So it's like directing, right? Directing the people to go from point A to point B. It's just up to you how you can make it safer for them. Architect Carl, you guys, like you're from Vision Arc, and you guys do several buildings, right? It ranges from low-rise to high-rise, and you also have residential projects. So how do you incorporate these amenities? Like, what's your design take when it comes to that?
Well, when it comes to gyms, for example, yung mga social spaces, right now kasi, we do it na as is, yung how we usually design it, not yet considering na may pandemic right now. So kumbaga, we're still designing the normal way we do it. Depende na lang kay client if may mga requirements sila na o consider na may pandemic tayo, you have to provide siguro yung provided the space for people should be bigger, something like that. So other thing siguro is yung mga equipment na gagamitin for example for the ventilation. So the mechanical ventilation na gagamitin, the windows, for example, for a particular space para mas ma-maximize yung natural air, magkaroon ng proper circulation within the area. So I think right now, ganun pa lang yung ginagawa namin. It's more on the approach na medyo cost efficient and natural. So mga ganun.
Right. I agree with that. And sometimes kasi you can't, like, when you design these things, sometimes it's limited rin, diba? The space. I mean, you don't really get the entire floor to turn it to your gym, right? We have one comment here, and I want to get your ideas on it. Like, I hope developers would incorporate outdoor gym equipment, like in Singapore. They also design it for senior citizens. What's your take on this, Architect Carl? Have you tried to explore the idea of doing outdoor gyms instead of putting it, say, on the 6th floor, on the podium, maybe on the roof deck or ground floor? Your ideas on this?
Well, it really depends on what type of gym you're gonna put up. So if it's a gym na you have free weights, you have dumbbells, barbells, and everything, I think it won't work outside. But for example, mga spinning classes like that, mga circuit training, I think it will work. But the totality na outdoor gym, siguro hindi siya magwo-work sa setup natin. Especially we're a tropical country, the weather is unpredictable. So once na umulan, you won't be able to use it na kasi syempre it's not good naman na you're working out while you're outside the rain, diba? So siguro we are not yet ready for that kind of siguro there would be some like spinning, which ginagawa na ngayon ng some of mga spinning studios. They do it outside na. So ayun.
What about you, engineer June? You're a runner and you cycle. So what are your thoughts on this? Because you know, when diba, in different countries they have parks, and then dun sa parks nila parang there are some bars or equipment that is free for all. What's your take on this here in the Philippines?
I agree with Architect Carl, right? So we have to consider the outdoor conditions. So normally here in Manila, it's like 30 degrees, and the humidity is really bad. It's around 70 to 80, 60 to 80. So kahit maglakad ka lang, pagpapawisan ka na. So some may not want that. But kung yung gym nasa Tagaytay or sa Baguio, Sagada, those kinds of places, right? You would definitely want it to be outdoors.
Yeah.
So
Right.
yeah, that's my take. So I saw this right in one of the gyms in BGC. So they have this outdoor space where they do CrossFit, and then hindi siya gaanong nagagamit unless may class. So as in lagi kasi malapit siya sa pool, and then every time na pupunta ako dun, makikita ko siya. So hindi siya gaanong ginagamit.
Yeah, so I think I agree with everything that you're saying, right? Ang kalaban kasi natin dito is the temperature and the rain. And it's not like we can just put a tent, right, on top of the equipment just to prevent us from getting wet. But I think my take here is it depends on the workout also. Like if it's a park, you can just put bars wherein, you can do your pull-up bars there. Or you can do benches wherein, you can do your own strength conditionings. And probably like provide like a pathway around the development where you can jog. So it's more of the type of exercise that you guys want to happen.
Yeah. And I think it can be used. It can be used. Hindi siya all. You cannot use yung mga outdoor din kasi the whole day. I mean, pwede siya during the morning, and then sa gabi. So medyo limited lang yung time na you can use it because of the weather talaga.
Yeah, kasi masarap mag-exercise. Well, if you're a morning person, I'm not a morning person.
Yeah.
If you're the type who wakes up super early in the morning, you can do your yoga there. You can do your stretching outdoor, right?
Yeah.
I'm not the I can't do that. Like, do you guys wake up super early to exercise? Are you the type of boys?
Yeah, I wake up at 5 a.m. every
Okay.
day.
What about you, Engineer Jude?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes, especially when I'm focused on running. So,
Okay.
when my cardio time is running, then yeah, I wake up early.
Ako kasi before pre-pandemic, I work out after office hours.
Mm.
So it's at
Patanggal ng
night.
stress.
Pag boxing kasi kapag hindi mo na ano yung deadlift, diba? Suntok ka na lang eh.
Gigil,
Parang
gigil.
pang release, gigil. Okay, so we've been talking about air circulation, ventilation, and natural lighting. No? Let's try to cover acoustic conditions naman. Is there any effect when is acoustic a factor in terms of building a healthy structure or healthy community? Architect Carl.
Well, yeah, most likely, especially when the area is noisy, kasi it would affect your syempre yung focus mo, especially sa work. For example, the way you sleep, it may affect your sleep, and then which can eventually cause to stress if you won't be able to address yung noise properly. So I think sa isang area, acoustic should be considered talaga, especially in areas where for example, sa mga churches or sa school na lang, 'di ba? So especially when you are in an area or in a neighborhood na maingay outside, I think it should really be considered kasi it would yung productivity.
Okay lang.
So
go ahead.
it also promotes workplace collaboration. The more na mas maayos yung acoustic, the more na you understand your workmates or the people around you properly.
Right. It contributes kasi sa lalo na mental, right? Mental wellness, acoustic, 'di ba? And we've been to some buildings na alam mong manipis yung dingding, walang proper acoustic panels na ginamit, or you can hear the people who are doing their meetings in the other room, right? And it's already disturbing. It puts you in a negative mindset. What about you, Engineer Jude? What's your take on acoustic conditions?
Yes, of course, you can definitely disrupt your work. So there's this study that said that if you hear like a noise during your focus time, then you will get distracted. Of course, it will affect your productivity. So one particular example is the open space layout, right? So we see that now in offices. They want a more inclusive office space, so they design it to be an open space. But one thing that they don't consider is yung acoustics nga. So for example, if you have a bare ceiling, yung uso yun ngayon, di ba? Yung wala siyang boards sa taas. Ang problema, pag kami nagmi-meeting dun sa kabila, maririnig mo dun sa side mo. So mag-i-echo siya, the verb, and all of those things. So you have to consider that. And there is one way to do that during the design, right? So you have to create an acoustic map. Basically, acoustic map tells you kung saan yung mga spaces sa buong office area mo or sa building mo kung saan pwede kang mag-ingay. You can't really put a prayer room beside a genset room or on top of a genset room, right? You can put let's say a massage parlor kung mall siya beside the gym. Kasi yung gym usually medyo maingay yan, may mga sounds, especially kung may classes. So may chance na ma-disturb yun nandun sa gilid. So acoustic maps are very, very useful in space planning. Yeah. So that's one way to
agree with I agreed with Engineer Jude. It's actually the moment you plan, lalo na sa planning stage, you really have to zone the areas accordingly. Kung ano yung busy areas, ano yung mga zones na private zones, gano'n. So, yun, I think that's one of the ways to control acoustics without putting any acoustic treatment. So, sa planning pa lang dapat ma-incorporate na yung
Yes.
zoning.
Agree.
I
And
agree.
of course, kung
Go ahead.
yeah.
Go ahead.
Kung meron namang like if your office is already built, tapos wala ka na talagang magagawa, it's best to communicate na lang to your employees, your office mates na itong maingay dito, ganyan. Kung may meeting ka, you should go here. Kung gusto mo mag-focus, you should go here. Yeah. So communication is key, of course. Yeah.
Pero yung ganun, ano yun no? Hassle Like, I mean, di ba, would you want to zone it? Like, dyan lang kayo. Pag quiet, dapat dito tayo. Pag pwede na magingay dito, di ba? So, exactly. That's why during planning stage, dapat acoustics is considered also. Because normally, na-overlook to because we tend to focus on the lighting and the air circulation, but really the sound. And I've been to, I won't mention which restaurant, but there's one restaurant that I've been to. It's just so hard to hear someone, yung katabi mo, even when you're beside the person, parang, the feeling na parang nagba-bounce lang lahat ng acoustic in the restaurant.
Yeah.
So you tend to increase the volume of your speaking voice. So the tendency is like everybody in the restaurant, para silang nagsisigawan. And
Nagpapalakasan ng boss.
oo, pero hindi mo naman naririnig yung conversation nila. It's just that there's a mentality that, okay, why is it so noisy? And add pa dyan yung spoon and fork, diba, when you eat. So, it disrupts the entire experience of your dining. So, I think from there, you will see the effects of acoustics and the effect of it in your system. It makes it unhealthy. Like, you don't naman feel sick, like physically, but your mental wellness is affected. Correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you're easily irritated and yeah.
Yes, exactly. Irritated yung mood mo, and stress can actually translate to physical feelings
Manifestations,
after.
yeah.
Right, magma-manifest siya. So, okay, so we're talking about restaurants, offices, gyms. I want to go back a bit to office spaces. So now we're again in semi-lockdown. I don't know how to call this situation now with the NCR plus and everything, the limitation.
Lockdown plus.
Lockdown plus, lahat na tinawag Disney plus, ganyan. So, people are working from home again. And Architect Carl, I know prior to this, you've been working in the office with proper protocols naman. See, this isn't going to end in a few months, right? Parang this year, we're still gonna be like this. What's your fearless forecast? When do you think it's safer now to go to work? I mean, we can never go back to the old ways because of everything, unless everybody gets their vaccine and we completely beat this disease. But how can you make people feel safer going back to work in terms of design or planning from an architect's perspective?
Sige. Actually, I am not in the position to tell when this pandemic will be over. But I pray na, pretty much soon. And then, siguro in terms of design, right now, diba, since the start of the pandemic, parang people are putting dividers. People are, may mga naka-cubicle na tayo. Dati, ang mga plans ng mga offices are open plan. Yeah, so ngayon they're putting up mga partitions in between, sa front, and then may mga social distancing, 1 seat apart, ganon. So, ako kasi, I don't wanna design it na short term, na dahil lang may pandemic, so dapat ganito dapat yung distance from each other. I think it's really, for now, it's really safe din talaga to follow the protocol na yung mga 1 seat apart, may mga partition. Kasi I think naman this pandemic is just temporary, and we have to design for the long term. And I hope na in a year or less than a year, sana mag-normalize na lahat. When everyone gets vaccinated, and the number of cases would drop. I think once na naging okay na yun, we can go back to normal. We can design siguro the way we design it before, prior to pandemic. So for now talaga, I think the best way is to do 50% of the occupancy, and then yung mga partitions muna temporarily. Yun muna.
But my question is, I agree that people are doing partitions, right? For social distancing. But the tricky part here is you still breathe the same air in the office, right? The circulation is still the same. And I want to ask you on this, Engineer Jude, because how effective is that? Because of course we're trying to do our own ways, diba? To social distance ourselves from other employees. But how do you address that? Kasi pareho lang naman yung air circulation eh.
I would go back to the air quality monitoring, right? So how stable the air is inside the room. So there's this study, and a lot of studies have been coming up, right? Sabi nila yung virus daw stays in the air for 3 hours, 3 to 8 hours in some cases, right? So ibig sabihin, kung yung shift mo starts let's say kahit nag 50% tayo, tas your shift starts 8 hours after yung unang shift, then kung wala kang air recirculation or kung wala kang air change, nandun yung virus, especially kung nasa surface din, di ba? And we can't get rid of it through constant tawag dito, yung disinfection, yung mga misting ganyan, but at what cost, right? So there are also studies that constant disinfection increases VOC in the air, increases particulate matter in the air, which can cause also yung long-term naman na sickness sa lungs mo. So medyo mahirap, and I think I like your word, your fearless forecast, right? So my take on this is that
fearful forecast.
Around early next year, right? So once kasi ang hirap kontrolin ng tao. So yes, susunod sila the first few weeks. Pero after 1 month, hindi mo na alam kung ano mangyayari. Pati ako nahihirapan din personally. So I guess yung solution lang is yung vaccination.
Yeah, tsaka I think the easiest way and pinaka-affordable way talaga is to just wear your mask kahit na you're inside your office, kahit you're inside your cubicle, just wear your mask lang talaga.
And we've seen the spike, and it started diba, office spread yung nangyari, and I think because people are kind of lax sometimes when they get to the office, tanggal ng mask because you're indoor already. So I mean, the safest way is to always wear it, or if you don't need to go to work, if you can work from home, better. Diba? So, talagang tiis lang talaga, and coordination with everyone just so we can beat this. And I mean, I agree, no? You can't always disinfect the office. Kung lagi naman nagde-disinfect, meron ding effect yung chemicals, right? So, everything just can be in moderation lang, but at the end of the day, always wear your mask and follow protocols. Right? And the exchange has been very good. Let's take a break. After this, I need to hear your takeaways from this very interesting conversation. So mga parts, Engineer Jude and Architect Carl, dyan lang kayo. Magbabalik ang Curve TV's Bold Talks Season 2. Curve TV's Bold Talk Season 2 is supported by Workfolk, Collaborative Workspaces, and Hospitality Innovators Inc. For sponsorships and collaborations, if you want to feature your brands, your projects, or your company, please drop us an email at 1tbcchannel@gmail.com. Follow our socials at CurveTVPH and at TBC Plus, the Boulder channel. Okay, so I'm still here with Engineer Jude and Architect Carl. And before we hear their, their takeaway from all these information that we're getting at a very timely situation, we'd like to say hi sa mga nagpapa-shoutout naman dyan kay Architect Carl. We have Mary Rose Zamora, we have Nika Herona, natatawa si Carl, si Lemark, Balsita Preposi, ayan, mga go Carl. So, people who are waiting for your input on this topic. Oo, supportive. Very good, Carl. So, okay, so we've tackled a lot. Ako mismo, I'm really excited to hear your thoughts on this. I mean, the anxiety levels of people are, it's shooting up again. For a while, medyo kalmado tayo, diba? I mean, okay, we'll wait this out. We'll wait for the vaccine. I myself, with the spike of the number of cases of COVID every day, it really will affect you mentally, right? And you'll be super praning with everything. So that's the reason why we wanted to tackle on this, because everybody's at home. Everybody's inside the structure, lockdown. So how do you make people safer? And at the same time, our responsibilities as an engineer and architect, dapat alam na natin yan. So any message or takeaway about our episodes tonight? Let's start with Architect Carl.
Sige.
Mag-thank you ka muna sa mga nagpapa-hi sa'yo.
Thank you sa mga supporters ko. Anyway, so siguro ang takeaway ko dito is since this pandemic is unsure talaga kung kailan matatapos, but we're still looking forward dun sa time na we all get back to normal. So siguro for now, the best thing now we can do is really follow the protocols lang talaga. If we can limit our going outside or being with other peoples for the meantime, kasi lang naman to temporary. So we really have to tiis lang. We have to sacrifice lang ng konti. I know we miss each other, we miss our loved ones as much as we want to see them face to face, but hindi natin alam kasi mamaya healthy tayo, sila asymptomatic, hindi naman natin masabi kasi some people may look normal but they are asymptomatic. So if we have the opportunity to stay at home, to work from home, I think let's take advantage of it and just disinfect, stay healthy. If we can invest sa mga healthy food, if we can incorporate working out or exercises sa routine natin, those are things na hindi naman kamahalan, it won't cost us that much, but it would help us in our immune system. So I think we really have to strengthen our immune system. I mean, regardless kung ano yung layout ng bahay natin, kung anong itsura ng paligid natin, but it's really how we personally will fight the virus. So yun.
Thank you. From architect, naging parang doctor si Architect Carl doon. I love the takeaways and the advice. Tama naman yun.
Kasi wala tayong magagawa It's really a health concern right now na we have to be realistic. We have to focus more on our immune system rather than yung sa mga physical na whatsoever nakikita natin outside.
Yan yung puhunan kasi natin, di ba? The immunity, the immune system talaga. Engineer Jude, your takeaway from, healthy buildings and our episode for tonight.
I can't reiterate the importance of indoor air quality, right? So even when you're at home, sometimes kasi may mga pollution sources and pollutant pathways sa home na hindi natin nakikita, pero yun pala yung rason kung bakit hindi ka productive, right? So take a break, take a 5-minute break in between calls, like that, kung nag-work ka from home. And so yeah, that's a technical part in the equality. Very timely din ito kasi speaking about work from home, right? I read a paper kahapon about ginawa ni Microsoft, right? So gumawa sila ng study sa mga gumagamit ng Microsoft Teams and then Outlooks, and then they found out na yung social connections in between nung yung mga gumagamit ng Microsoft Teams bumaba siya during the pandemic, which is medyo alarming siya in terms of yung social effect ng pandemic and work from home. And I think it's one of the things na kailangan i-address, especially when I'm talking to introverts out there, right? So reach out guys. Probably yung fear mo na baka i-reject ka nila, hindi, baka inaantay ka rin lang niya na mag-reach out. So there's this number, right? Yung Dunbar's number. Sabi niya yung social connections mo up to 150 people lang daw. Apart from that, parang kunyari ako and then si Bill Gates, right? So I may be connected to him kasi meron akong Microsoft, pero hindi niya ako kilala. So wala ako dun sa 150 na tao. And yung 150 na yun, lumiliit siya dahil dun sa pandemic. So when this is all over, and it will be over, right? You have to start rebuilding those social connections. And for you to kind of reinforce them right now, yun yung kailangan nating pagtuunan siguro ng pansin.
Right. And I mean, the health, when we talk about healthy, it can be physical and it can be mental. I mean, we've heard that a lot of times during this time, right? Your mental health is really important. And you're right, those introverts, especially the introverts, diba, yung hindi masyadong socially active, you really need to talk to people also. And at the same time, I mean, I hope, with all our learnings and tips, because we are all, locked inside our spaces, you're correct, we cannot reiterate the fact that air circulation is really important. Ventilation is important. Yung mga bintana nyo, buksan nyo, especially those who are living in a condo, diba? I mean, open your windows for fresh air naman para umikot. And for those in the offices, yung talagang kailangan pumunta sa office, wear your masks. I mean, always be guarded, even if you're in the pantry or whatever. Let's try to be careful for ourselves, especially when we interact with other people. So, thank you very much, Engineer Jude and Architect Carl, from this very insightful conversation. I hope you enjoyed our discussion. I really enjoyed mine. And thank you for all those who asked questions and commented on Facebook. Salamat. So, guys, research has found that healthy buildings offer a variety of benefits and can help alleviate several issues such as indoor health, productivity, chronic disease, and air pollution. So, in other words, healthy buildings not only improve the overall health and well-being of the occupants, but they can also help companies reduce costs and improve company performance. Healthy buildings are good for people, and they are good for business. So partners, join me again next Wednesday, live at 6 p.m. Stay safe, everyone. Get an architect, get an engineer, get a contractor, get ahead of the curve. I am Architect Patch, and you've just watched another episode of Curve TV's Bold Talk Season 2, your collaborative construction show. Bye, guys. Stay safe.
Bye.